Hey everybody, this is John Dennis, and this is Org Talk with John Dennis. I'm here to do a cast assessment today of Season 6 of Pandemic, Ming Dynasty. Today I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the main host himself, Josh Patello.
Hello. Thanks for having me back, John.
Hey Josh. All right, so I'm gonna hop off screen, like I said. Boom. All right, and we will start with the Yellow Tribe. What's the name of that again?
The Yellow Tribe is pronounced Huangqi. Don't worry, like I have mispronunciations on that too, but don't worry, you'll get used to that after a while.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you just say the names. I'll just say the colors. We'll do that.
Sure, go on. I'm ready.
All right. So we're gonna start out with Jules.
Yes. Jules is a great friend of mine, and as well as Jules as a player themselves, they are very, very analytical and calculated. They know exactly what is going on, ins and outs on most cases for each of the players. Like when you go and have a conversation with Jules, they are always taking notes. They're always just trying to keep track of every single thing that's happening. Okay, what's this person doing with their body language? Okay, their facial expressions are being a little sus right now. I gotta be careful with that. Can I control this person? Do I have to make them think that they're in control? Like Jules is that kind of person where like the gears are constantly turning and you never know exactly what Jules is gonna do. So like I would put Jules in a category of more like of a chaotic, strategic, down low kind of player. Think of like basically think like some sort of a low level Jeremy Collins with a little bit of chaotic of Adam, with the strategic prowess of Michelle. The social prowess of Michelle. It's a mixed bag, but you can easily see the entertainment value that Jules will bring to the table. I am really curious to see how well Jules can do with this, because I have seen some footage of them in Penthouse. Definitely seems promising for certain cases. We'll have to see if they can get past the placement they had in Penthouse, but we'll find out.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that last part as it being an org and not something else, because that's also a name of a magazine.
Yes, Penthouse is a actual live reality game, and it's very similar to Pandemic. The only difference is that it's on Zoom. Which is why I'm like, Jules had some experience with that, so it's like, let's see how well they do with the Zoom version of this.
Gotcha. All right, next up is Skyler.
Skyler, yeah. Skyler, I believe, is also another player that played a live reality game. I believe it was Realfoot. I've seen some footage of Realfoot. It's actually a very well-polished game, hosted by Amos, and he is a really good host. I give them props for that. As far as for Skyler's case, I believe when I was talking to Skyler, she gives off a very social player, very likable, wanting to be your friend, but also gives off a little bit of a snake vibe, just slightly. It's like you don't really see it, but like you don't really sense it, but it's clearly on her face. And when I was doing the interview process with her, I noticed that she wants to do something chaotic, but I have a feeling she's going to do slightly the opposite and be a little bit messy. But I do have hope that Skyler can actually make it far. She did mention the fact that she got swap screwed. Normally with the case of Pandemic, we have seen players in the past get swap screwed, so let's just see the odds are in her favor with that, but we will see how well Skyler can get past that portion.
All right. Next up, we have Tabong.
Yes, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I hope we'll get it right later on in the season. But yeah, Tabong is very interesting. He definitely gives me of a very strong strategic player. Always triple checking everything in the rules. Basically trying to find a way to find some loopholes, if that makes sense. If there's a loophole in Pandemic, he will find a way to take advantage of that and be like, oh wait, it's not in the rules, I can do this. But then again, Pandemic is basically a free range game to do whatever you want. You just got to take advantage of the circumstances of what you're given. So with that being said, I can definitely see Tabong be in control for the second half of the game. The first half of the game, he's just going to be very observant. And then once it gets down to tribe swap or the second half of the merge portion, then the dial's got to get turned up. And I can definitely see Tabong potentially making final three if he plays his cards right. He just needs to make sure his threat level is below everybody else's, because normally very strong strategic players get very high threat level. All you have to do is lower the guard down and you'll be smooth sailing to the end.
So would you compare him to JT from last season a little bit?
I would, but I see Tabong as a little more quiet than JT, just slightly. But I could be proven wrong. Like, he could range the same length as JT, but we'll have to see if Tabong can pull off that kind of controlling demeanor, if that makes sense.
All right, fair enough. Next up we have Jacob or Jake, whichever he feels like being called.
Right. So Jacob, I have heard a lot of good things from Jacob. He reminds me of Dan back in Bermuda Triangle. And what Dan does is that he was very, very low-key, but very, very controlling, chaotic kind of player. But the only difference was I will never forget this moment where Dan was asked, when Sebastian, who also played Season 2, gave Dan all of his items and then never gave it back. That's the kind of vibe I see from Jacob. Like, if you give Jacob an idol, and then you tell him to hold on to it, I don't think Jacob's going to give that idol back. Like, he's definitely that kind of player that would just steal all your shit and go. I will say that, like, Jacob is also very analytical. Like, a lot of this cast is very, very analytical, very, very calculated, wanting to make sure that they're on point. But I do think he's, like, maybe a tad bit messy of revealing a little too much information than what is needed. Do I think it's for the right reasons? Yes, but it could be at the wrong times. All it takes for Jacob is to say the wrong information to the wrong person, and he could get sniped very easily. So I don't think he's that loose-lipped, but I do see that potentially happening at some point in this game. So we'll have to see if Jacob can really stand his foot ground and keep his mouth shut on certain things, but pull some behind the strings for it.
All right, next up is Gigi.
Gigi. When I met up with Gigi gave me very Serif Fields vibes. Like she seems like the kind of person that, like, you know, obviously with the phrase, you know, go off the couch and play Survivor. The only difference is that you're not going off the couch to play Survivor. You're going on the couch to play Survivor on Zoom. But besides the point, for the social aspect for Gigi, she definitely has it. And I can see Gigi going very far in this game. The only way I see Gigi potentially going is that if she gets idled out or swap screwed. And, like, I do not, like, the way that Gigi also comes across to these people is, like, very likable, very personable, very blunt, very honest, very loyal kind of player. So it's definitely those kind of players you want to have in your back corner. You just got to make sure that you do not want to mess with Gigi, because if that's the case, she will not forget it. So I'm definitely rooting for Gigi on this, since she seems a very kind of dedicated player, very similar to Tiara from last season, very similar, but I think can be the kind of person that would actually make more chaotic moves than Tiara from last season.
Okay. And last but not least, on the Yellow Tribe, we have Christopher.
Okay, Christopher is a question mark for me because I have never heard of Christopher. I've never seen him around in any kind of orgs, but I did hear a few things. He's a gamer, and he knows exactly where to make the right moves when it counts. So I do think that Christopher could potentially be a great addition to the cast. As far as where he fits in with the rest of the people, I don't know. Like, I need to see exactly what he can bring to the table, because all I see is a lot of potential, but I don't know exactly how he's going to do. So he's a bit of a question mark for me. But I do have faith that he's going to do well. Do I think he's going to, like, the only possible scenario that I can see Christopher getting out early is that he aligns with the wrong people, which I don't think he would do that. So I can see Christopher doing well. Let's just hope that he can actually light a spark in me that makes me want to root for him. So we'll see what happens.
Alrighty, and that's it for the Yellow Tribe. Next up is the Orange Tribe, which is...
The Orange Tribe is Ming.
Ming. Alright, first up we have Erika.
Erika. Okay, so Erika, she surprised me on this one because Erika, the second she came to the interview process, she came in with this big burst of very relatable, personable energy that really gravitated me. I was very, very impressed. I have never seen a player that was able to make like it felt like I wasn't even playing with her and like I wanted to work with her. And that's insane. Like if you have that kind of pull with me, you are very, very socially like God tier. That's impressive. So I see Erika potentially going very, very, very deep. The only way she could really mess this up is that she becomes inactive for the first few rounds. I highly doubt that's going to happen because she seems very dedicated to this game and wants to give it her all. So I have full faith in her for this, but let's just hope that she is not inactive the first few rounds because I hate when inactives go out for the first few rounds. It ruins all the potentials for the players that we want to be casted to play this kind of game. But I have full faith that she will actually run this game and work with the right people and make the right moves when it counts.
Okay. Next up is Nikki.
Nikki is slightly a bit of a question mark for me as well, but only because I don't know exactly what kind of moves she would make in the game. She did talk a big game in the interview process. I just don't really see it, at least at the start. I think she would potentially flip on some votes, definitely that. I just don't see the right. I just don't think she'll have enough I think she'll have enough pull at the start, but I don't think she'll have enough pull to gravitate the rest of the people to get the moves the way that she wants it. I could be wrong, but that's just the way that I view it. I do think she would potentially make idle plays. Like she would probably be the kind of person that would play an idle for somebody else only for strategic reasons. Definitely not playing it for her allies. Absolutely not. I don't see that at all. But for the last thing, she could potentially run the game, but only if she could get more pull after the first few rounds. I could see she could grab it, but I don't think it will be enough. Let's just see if she surpasses my expectations for that.
Okay, I'm going to say it right now. That is my winner pick right there. So we'll see how that holds up.
Okay, well, let's see if she's able to make be done.
Next up is another legend in the org community, King Karl.
King Karl. Yes, I've seen King Karl in a lot of, in a few other orgs. He did play in what's the org? Expedition. Yes, he did play in Expedition. So obviously he's had some experience as well as playing a closest thing to an actual reality show Survivor. Also, fun fact: Karl was casted for season 3, but decided to back out and go for our first alternate, aka John, who's also hosting this. So, like, if Karl didn't back out, this would have been a completely different outcome. But I'm really happy we got Karl back for this season. Definitely lots of burst of energy, very, very dedicated. I do have a little bit of a slight issue, though. I do not see Karl making it far. I see Karl giving me Frenchie vibes for the first few rounds. I do think he's gonna be a little bit over the top the first few rounds. But the only way that he would actually stay in the game is that if his tribe goes on a winning streak, because I think he's gonna be one of the first few people voted off of his tribe, unless he gets in good people with some with like Nikki and some of the other folks on the tribe. That's the only way that I could see Karl actually making it deep. Because it's kind of hard when, like, you're, like, a little bit loud and a little bit too animated at times, because a lot of people find that a little bit, they find that a little bit intimidating. So as long as Karl, like, keeps it on a low profile for the first few rounds, I think he can do well. Do I see him winning the game? I don't think so. I hope he proves me wrong with this, however.
All right, next up, who I see as a potential ally for Karl, because he likes to team up with two girls, it seems like, in most every game, is Allie.
Allie. Allie is also kind of a question mark for me. I do think that Allie is a very sweet, bubbly person. Probably would be looking for a ride or die kind of player. So if you can get in with Allie, you basically have 2 votes. Because I do not see Allie making moves for her own game unless it makes sense for hers. So yeah, like, if anyone aligns with Allie, they basically have 2 votes in their back pocket. I just hope that Allie finds a way to get in with the right kind of people and potentially actually make moves in her game. Do I think she's the kind of player that would take a leadership position? Absolutely not. However, that doesn't mean that she would probably take a role in maybe 1 or 2 votes. Now, unless she's swap screwed, then yeah, that's the end of Allie. So let's just see what happens if Allie can actually... I just want to see Allie take the leadership position at least one time. That's all I want to see. But let's see how well if she's able to surpass my expectations for that.
So do you think she kind of plays like how Destiny was playing last season?
Destiny played a little more chaotically, wanted to do some rogue votes. I don't think Allie would be the kind of person to make rogue votes. Now, let's just say her ride or die and someone else disagreed on something, then yeah, I could see her throwing her vote. But I definitely do not see her throwing up random votes if her ride or die doesn't agree with the same vote, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Alex Presser.
Alex Presser. Yes. I've seen Alex around. He was one of the first people that I've actually played an org with. In my very first org back in 2019, I believe. Yes. So in 2019, I saw up with Alex. He was actually one of the very first people I wanted to work with. With that being said, I think Alex is very, very smart. Social game, I think, could be worked on a little bit more, but I do think he has the flair to make big moves. He just needs to be with someone who is a little more strategic than he is. And I could see him working with Erika for a little bit, because he's probably looking for someone who's actually way on top of their game and knows exactly what they're doing. So in this case, I do see Alex making a pretty good. I do see Alex making it very far. However, I do think he's either going to be potentially a strategic threat, but also he would be the kind of person that would just have their target really big just by guilty of association, if that makes sense. Kind of like Kaysen. So as far as Alex's case, he can do well. The only time that I could see him going out very soon is if he gets swap screwed, or if his target on his back gets too big and merge, which I see both cases happening. So let's see if he actually does well.
I could see him doing really well, making it far, but I could also see it him being the first boot on that tribe if they end up going to tribal council.
Really? I do not see that at all. I see Karl as the first few boots, but hey, who knows? Maybe after the first round or the first episode, we will see if that's the case.
Last person on the orange tribe is a fan of the show. He supported us all the past 2 seasons, and that is Jeffy.
Yes, Jeffy. Jeffy is definitely one of our biggest supporters for the Strive Dynamic team, and anyone who is a huge fan of the series is more than likely going to get casted. And thank God it's Jeffy. Like, Jeffy gives me Adam Klein vibes, 100% Adam Klein vibes. He would be the kind of person that just be like all up in everybody's business, always trying to find out like what's going on out there, always trying to think 2 or 3 steps ahead, but it comes off as a little bit disingenuous. Do I think that Jeffy could actually prove me wrong in this case? Absolutely, because he definitely gives off the vibe that he wants to prove to himself that he could be a good player. I think he could actually be the hero of the season, potentially. I just need to see him actually showing that he can be a very capable player, because a lot of people think he's messy. I still think he's messy at times. If he could just go one round, at least one round, without being messy, without spilling too much info, I can see Jeffy making it last past merge. But if he spills a little too much, I don't think he's going to last the first few rounds. I could be wrong. I could be wrong in this case. I do have faith in Jeffy. I just don't know if he could at least make it past Tribe Swap. If he could do that, he'll be fine.
The one thing I'm good about, the one thing I'm happy for Jeffy is we don't have the health system, because I feel like he would have done the same thing that Sean did in season 4.
1,000,000,000%. That's why, like, Jeffy also kind of gives me Sean vibes, just a little bit, because if anyone would have if anyone would have played the Canadian Arctic and would have gone all in on the freaking health bar system, they wouldn't make it past the first few rounds.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, we are finished with the Orange Tribe, and last but not least, it's time for the Pink Tribe.
Yes. The Pink Tribe is Giga.
Giga. All right.
Close enough.
Well, it's my southern accent.
Fair enough.
All right. First up, we have Vicky.
Vicky. Vicky definitely is an interesting one, because Vicky gives me a mix of Raven and Robert. Both very bold, both very in your face, both want to cause a little bit of drama. However, I do see Vicky aligning with the right people. They just need to make sure they keep their mouths zipped when tea gets spilled. Anytime there's like pop tea, just pass it all around, Vicky will literally take a handful of thing and they pass it off to somebody else. Like, they really need to be careful with this. So I would say with Vicky, yes, they would potentially, I could see them making Tribe Swap at least. Do I see them making it really far in this game? I do not think so, unless they get very, very calculated, which I don't see that for Vicky, but potentially they could. If they get very, very calculated and really look into the conversations and really look into what they're saying, I do see Vicky making merge. Do I think they could potentially be the winner? We'll have to see. I need to see what they can do in game to see if they're able to make it far.
I see Vicky causing rocks.
Vicky will 100% go to rocks. 100% go to rocks. Yes, that is the winner thing right there. If there was a situation where we go to rocks, Vicky would be the kind of person to be like, fuck it, let's go to rocks. Yeah, 100%.
All right. Next up is Peyton.
Yes, Peyton. Peyton definitely has some experience before. Peyton played Ascendance, which is also live on their YouTube channel as well. So another player who's done a live reality game. Peyton is definitely a very... Peyton gives me Mega Mind... like my boss says. Peyton gives me Mega Mind vibes. Like, very, 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 very charming, very overthinking, but to the point that it makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. They know exactly what's going on for certain conversations, and Peyton would be the kind of person that if you give them information, he will just keep it to himself. Like, no ands, ifs, or buts about it. So for Peyton's case, he would actually, I could see potentially for him going very far and potentially win. And then whenever there's a case that there's a big move that needs to be made, Peyton will 100% take charge and run the game. So the only slight thing I'm concerned with Peyton is that when it comes down to similarities or finding someone to find in common with, Peyton kind of struggles with that a little bit. But I do think that he will get outside his comfort zone and actually connects with people that he would not think he would connect with. So I'll be rooting for Peyton. I think he will do really well. I just need to see if my expectations for Peyton is for him to be controlling, work with people that that I wouldn't expect that Peyton would work with, and also make big moves when it counts, which I see that for at least one of the three.
All righty. Well, next up, we're moving right along. We have Ian.
Ian. Ian kind of gives me a little bit of. Okay. I'm trying not to laugh on this one because Ian gives me a little bit of Mike vibes. And Mike himself is like, when you go in there, you have all the confidence in the world, and then when you actually go into the game, it will slightly go down on your face a little bit. However, I do think Ian will actually do really well. I just hope that Ian won't be like Mike and just be not showing up at challenges for the first few rounds. I don't think Ian would do that, but I do think Ian has a lot of potential. Definitely very relatable, definitely very personable. I can see Ian actually doing pretty well. We purposefully put him on a tribe that we would not think that Ian would align with because we think his social capital, because we think his social game is way too strong for like a lot of these players. So let's just see if Ian can actually do himself justice and really get himself to the merge. Because I see Ian potentially winning the game, making moves when it counts, and also working with people that like I also feel that he wouldn't align with. I will be incredibly shocked. This will be the shockiest moment for me if Ian works with Peyton, because I absolutely do not see it. But if they end up becoming best friends, I'm already happy as it is. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Next up, we have Miss Amber.
Amber. Amber is a interesting one because I could definitely see Amber applying to the actual Real Show Survivor and playing the game. And for this case, for Amber, I do think she would probably someone's ride or die, and also flipping on their ride or die at the same time. She would probably be that kind of person. Like if she would if she would have a ride or die for most of the game, but if the ride or die is potentially going to win over her, she would absolutely make that cut. So I do think that Amber will be in a great spot for most of the game, potentially be the swing vote for most of the game. I think she could be the swing vote for most of the stuff for the season. Now, the only way that I see her going is if she ends up spilling the wrong info to the wrong person. And I've already said that for a few other people, but I think that's like that for her too. So for Amber, I think she will do really well. I just hope she at least makes the merge portion and action and potentially makes some big moves. The only big move I see from Amber is, again, she cuts her ride or die, but other than that, I don't see her making any other big moves. I could be wrong, but let's just see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens if she and Jake get put up on a swap tribe together.
Are they buddies or no?
No, because they both are willing to cut their ride or die. So.
Ooh, touche. Yeah. That'd be very interesting. That'd be very interesting. Okay, go on.
All right. Second to last person is Marnie.
Marnie. Oh yes. Marnie is literally the definition of a blunt chaotic strategist. Here's why. Marnie would be the kind of person where you would just like gravitate, have a good time. Like definitely the bartender of the season, like if there was one, right? She definitely pulls up and be like, hey, I'm opening the bar, everybody comes in. You know, that's the kind of vibe that Marnie normally gives towards me when I played with her at that time. However, when I did the interview process with her, she came up as a completely different person and it blew me away. It's almost like she's like giving it like it's almost like she turned into a little bit of a Tony mixed with Kim a little bit, just with that. She may be the oldest person on the cast, but that definitely does not deteriorate that for her. She knows how to gravitate people to get them to like her and potentially want to work with her. I do see her being a little bit messy at merge. However, all she has to do is keep her mouth shut on most of the info, and she could potentially win the game. I just hope that she wows me as much as she did in the interview process. That is all I gotta say with her.
All right. Well, last but not least, Sheed.
Sheed definitely gives off a very similar vibe to Tiara. Very loyal, very dedicated, very calculated. Potentially a little more so wanting to be in the leader position compared to Tiara when just taking a back seat and always just observing no matter what the case may be, right? Now, I do have a lot of faith in Sheed. Do I think Sheed's going to make big moves when it counts? Yes, but only when it's presented to him. I don't think he'll be willing to do it on his own. I think if the opportunity would have come to Sheed, he would do it. But I don't think he would potentially make the strike when it happens. Unless he proves me wrong. He could prove me wrong. But we'll have to see if Sheed will actually do well. The only way I see Sheed going out early, the only way Sheed, I can only see Sheed going at merge. I do not see him as an early boot, and I do not see him as a tribe swap boot. Unless he gets in, unless the tribe is literally a tribe of 5 with 4 on one tribe and he's on the other, then I see Sheed going. But I do not see Sheed going anytime soon. I see him making it for quite a while.
But with that being said, that's the conclusion of our cast assessment. Josh, who is your winner pick?
My winner pick. This is going to be a tough one. There is a lot of potential candidates for this, but my absolute winner pick for this season, and I will not be surprised in the slightest if she does not win this game. Correction. I will not be surprised one bit if she ends up taking the title for season 6, and that is Erika. She was one of the last people to come in, and she wowed the pants off of me. I am all in for Erika. I hope she ends up winning this game, and I will be very, very sad if she does not make it the first 2 rounds. But I have complete faith in her that she would actually take home the title.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you tonight.
Yes, sir. Catch y'all later.